All right, so let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to tonight's live. Tonight is Sunday, March 31st, 2024. This is the last live for this month, March. Last week, I wasn't able to join because I was very, very sick. Today, I am still a little bit sick, but not as bad as last week. Last week, I couldn't even talk without coughing every single time, right? So, in the meantime, I'm doing good. I can talk. Voice is a little bit raspy, so bear with me, right? We're going to go over first Forex Factory. Forex Factory is what I usually use to keep track of the news. It's what I usually recommend. It's what I got used to. It's what I learned when it came to like calendar news, right? There are other platforms, but this is what I use. This is what I'm comfortable with. So we're going to get started. So for this week, we are looking at nothing here on Sunday. Sunday is all good. We actually have a bank holiday, bank holiday in New Zealand and Australia all day. Tomorrow, we have another bank holiday and also just bank holidays when it comes to European countries and also the UK. So you have British pound, you have euro, you have the Swedish franc. All that's going to be a bank holiday for tomorrow. Remember, my time is Eastern Standard Time, New York session time. So you're going to see some times here. You can always modify here in the top right. Make sure it's got the right time zone. So that way you get the most up-to-date actual news. You can keep up with that, right? Tomorrow we're going to see USD red folder. Shocking, right? Shocking to see a USD red folder on April 1st too. Fantastic. April 2nd, you're going to see red folder news when it comes to Euro. USD as well. That's going to be it for Tuesday. Wednesday, April 3rd, you're going to see red folder news 3 times for USD. Nothing else when it comes to that. Thursday, you're going to get CHF, that's red folder news, and USD. And then Friday, you're going to have red folder news. Shocking, a Friday, right? Red folder news on Canadian, right? CAD, USD. Remember, guys, whenever you're trading any other pairs, if you're trading pairs that trade against the USD, or if you trade any pairs at all, can be careful with the USD news. USD news has screwed me over plenty of times during red folder news, even when I'm not trading USD pairs. Crazy, I know, but just be very careful when it comes to the red folder news. And this is why we go over news every single week, so we can identify those red folder news events every single week and try to stay out of them. If you are not a consistent, profitable trader and you know how to trade the news, do not do it. Trading the news is borderline gambling. Even if you do know what you're doing, it's probably not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. Sometimes it will. A lot of times it won't. And those times that it doesn't, it's going to hurt you. So if you're not a consistently profitable trader that specializes in trading news, don't do it, right? And if you want to master that skill and actually be one of those people, do it on demo. Don't do it on a live account. Don't do it on your proper accounts. Don't do it in an account that actually matters. Do it on demo if you really, really want to do that and create that, that skill of trading news events. Do it on demo. Now, without further ado, we're going to jump on the actual charts themselves. So first things first, we're going to get started with NASDAQ. You're going to see on my charts right now, you're going to see the futures chart. So I'm using the futures charts for NASDAQ. This is going to be the E-mini futures. This is going to be the most accurate chart when it comes to NASDAQ. If you have a broker, let's say like ACAP or, for example, like Black Bull Markets, if you have a Forex broker that has NASDAQ on it, use those. It's going to be the most accurate for that broker. But this is what I use because it's going to be the most accurate, period. Right? This is the actual real price action, the real price itself. And then all the other Forex brokers, there's going to be variances with the price numbers, but not the price action. Price action is going to move the same. But this is what I'm using so I can get the most accurate information in regards to NAS. And also, I started trading futures. So I go live with my futures tomorrow. So this is going to be the most accurate chart that I can use for that. Now, weekly. What does a weekly look like, right? Continuation with all these breaker structures. We are still very heavily bullish. Let's go down into the daily chart. Daily chart, we're still doing higher lows and higher highs. Here looks like it might be ranging. We're going to select this area here so you guys can see it. You should just see this real quick. I'm going to highlight it like yellow. Nice little P yellow. Not so much, right? Let's bring this up here into the body of the candle. And then, yeah, it's kind of like ranging in this, like, in here. But if you also see from the previous live sessions that we've done, we already have marked out over here the daily fair value gap 50% mark. And then we also have another 4-hour fair value gap 50% mark that was hit. This 4-hour one looks like it was actually bearish and it converted into an inverted fair value gap. But the daily looks good. The daily one is actually this candle over here. The candle on the 20th of March, Wednesday. And you can see the price action touched into that 50% mark. Did not break through the candle. And then continuation to the upside. So this is like a perfect play. Tap into the 50% and then continuation. What do we see also on the daily? So the daily, like this is going to range here until it either breaks this all-time high, closes above it with a daily candle, or breaks this structure low here, this sell side liquidity, and then closes with a candle here. That's going to confirm like a bearish movement. But for the meantime, we are ranging, and then the overall trend itself, like the weekly, right? As you can see here on Easy Algo, weekly still bullish, daily's bullish, everything's bullish. So we're looking for bullish positions. That's going to be the safer bet. I'm going to clean up these charts a little bit, but if you have futures charts, remember these specific areas, these are points of interest, right? I'm also going to set the alerts on these. This area here, this is a 4-hour fair value gap 50% mark. You're looking at 17,848.50. And then you have a couple fair value gaps over here. They actually overlap, but we're going to go for the higher time frame, which is going to be the daily. Daily is going to be 17,045.44. Yeah, 45. 17,045. We're going to go for that. And then also we have another daily fair value gap and 4-hour fair value gap that overlap over here. We're going to use the daily value, which is 16,617.75. Those are points of interest that we're going to keep an eye on. Make sure you set your alerts on those. I'm going to make sure I refresh these alerts because it looks like I might have deleted some by accident, and that's totally fine. We have a daily fair value gap over here as well that needs to be identified. It's selected right over here. I'm going to set my alert, and I'm going to give you guys the coordinates for this one. Coordinates for this are 17,297.75. All right. 17,297.75. That's what we're looking on right there. Guys, if I'm going a little bit too fast, let me know, please. If not, we'll keep up the same pace. If you get confused or anything, please write in the Discord. I'm monitoring the Discord on my separate screen. So whatever questions that come up, I'll be easily answering them as we go on. And that's pretty much it that we see here. So this daily fair value gap was tapped into. And then continuation to the upside. Since it got tapped into that daily fair value gap, we're going to remove that selection of the point of interest because that has now been mitigated. I also use Fair Value Gap by Nephew Sam. I use Easy Algo SMC, Smart Money Concepts. And I also have live right now the Easy Algo V12 that just went live this week. So those are the indicators that I'm currently using. We're going to go down into the 4-hour time frame. Let's check out the 4-hour time frame. Remember, guys, we marked this entire area out as a ranging zone. I'm very, very bullish on all the positions right now. Because higher time frame, weekly and daily, they're still bullish. There's still a lot of pressure behind Nas to keep making it go bullish. So I'm going to stay bullish until I'm not, right? We're bullish until we're not. Right now we're ranging. We can probably play out this range. We have a fair value gap over here on the 4 hour. Excuse me, 4 hour. If we select it, we have this 50% mark right over here at 18,418. This 4 hour fair value gap was created the 20th of March, right? Which was not this last week that just passed, this week that just passed, but the week prior to that, right? So on the 4 hour, that 50% mark actually tapped into it. So the pip right over here on Monday, the 25th, right? Continuations of upside, then retested again on the 27th on Wednesday, twice, now continuations of upside. So right now it's pretty much taking out all the liquidity from the buy side. In theory, after this market structure shift, should be a continuation because we did get a nice push up after this fair value gap was tapped into, and it's going with the trend, right? It's going with this bullish trend, eating this liquidity from the buy side. Could actually reject off this, bounce back here, and then continuation up because it is ranging at the moment. But since this got tapped into, this is now mitigated on 4 hour. This also was mitigated, which was a 4 hour fair value gap here. It was bearish. But then you see here, price action broke right through it. Came back down, broke through it again. This is mitigated. This is no good. Do we have anything else here? I do see this here. Here's another bearish fair value gap that got tapped into. So that's mitigated as well. Don't see anything else inside this range. Besides this down here, let's mark this because this might play out during one of the red folder news days. This might tap into here. If you're a scalper, this is a good point of interest for you to mark out. We're going to label this as 4 hour fair value gap. Four-hour fair value gap 50% mark. I'm going to pull it a little bit to the right. That way we can monitor it as the week goes by. Let's lock it in. That's looking like 18,209. Yeah, 18,209. It's a really small fair value gap. I usually don't play off those smaller fair value gaps, but you probably could on a smaller time frame. Lowest time frame that we're going to do on these lives, it's going to be 4 hours. So we're going to stick to weekly, daily, and 4 hours. Do we see anything else in the 4 hour? I do see this over here, but this 50% mark, as you can see here on the left, has been tapped into and mitigated. So check this out. If that was a 50% mark, tapped into it over here. So that's been tapped into and mitigated. This fair value gap here has been tapped into and mitigated. These are no good. This one still has yet to be tapped into and mitigated. 17,848.50. So keep a close eye on that one. Besides that, that's pretty much it that we have here for Nas that we're looking for. Make sure to set your alerts. Make sure to only play around in those points of interest. If not, then you're going to be forcing your trades. We are still bullish. We're looking for bullish positions. If that helps, this week we're looking for bullish positions. Does anybody have any questions for me in regards to Nas? If no questions, let me get a thumbs up in the Discord. Then we're going to move on to gold. Dope, dope, dope. Moving on to gold. We're going to start on the weekly. Weekly time frame. We are still very bullish. Right? Charts is a little bit messy. But that's because we have a lot of areas and a lot of points of interest that have not been mitigated or tapped into. And they're very important. We have weekly levels here. Here's another weekly and daily overlap. So we're going to go over these two areas here. These are the closest one to where the price action is. They're going to be probably the most important ones as well. This weekly, and then we have another here for our daily weekly fair value gap. This weekly over here, we're looking at 21.20. So we're looking for price action to come back down to 21.20. That's going to be a weekly fair value gap 50% mark. Price action should, in theory, somehow, right, come down into here and then come back up. So we're still waiting for price action to play out, but this is the most likely to happen. Could it happen this week? Maybe. I'm not exactly sure. And we do have a lot of red folder news that could cause this to go down in just like one whole candle in one day. Or it could take a month to come right back down to there. But when it comes down to here, make sure you're ready. Set your alerts. 21.20 is what we're looking for. Remember, my broker, it's a little bit different. It's 8 cap. Make sure your brokers line up. But remember, just draw the lines here. Set your 50% mark. If you're using the rectangle tool, go into the options, right up here, your settings, and then make sure to select the middle line. Middle line is going to mark your 50% every single time. That's what we need. So identify this fair value gap here on gold. Your broker chart might be a little bit different with the pricing. Mine on ACAP, it's 21.20. That's my halfway point. But like I said, use your rectangle tool with that halfway point, that middle line, draw it out over here, and then set your alert on that halfway mark. Very important. This is a weekly fair value gap. It's a very, very strong PD array, right? It's a very strong fair value gap. Second, we have here a 4-hour daily and a weekly. All three of these higher time frames, or all these high time frames, right? Because the higher one is going to be weekly. All three of these are aligned right here on this line here. And like I said, whatever broker you have, just draw your fair value gap. Make sure you get your 50% mark. For me, it's at 20.61 on ACAP. And when price action comes into this area here, I'm looking to long. I'm still bullish, and I'm expecting price action to reject off here. If it breaks through this one here, it'll probably ping pong, right? But once it rejects through this area here, it's targeting this. This is the next level it's going to seek. Tap into here, and then I'm expecting price action for a continuation upside. If it breaks through and the candle closes on the weekly, that means price action is now bearish. We're looking for bearish positions. And like I said with Nas, we're bullish until we're not. So we're bullish here until we're not, which is when it breaks through and closes. Same thing here. We're bullish until we're not, until it breaks through and closes underneath that. Then we're looking for bearish positions. This is on the weekly. These two different weekly time frames, these two weekly fair value gaps are extremely strong. Definitely keep an eye on these two. Now, if we go down into the daily, what do we see in the daily? On the daily, we see this daily fair value gap here. We also have identified. This one's at 2099.77. You can round it up to 2100. I have that set. I should set an alert. Set an alert on that. Then I also have another daily fair value gap over here. It's very small, but that's the one that overlaps with the weekly. That's the one that's 2120. Right? 2120. Yeah, that's the weekly overlap with the daily. So that's the one I'm really actually focused on. That's the one I want to play out. Over here, we have another fair value gap here. That's not official until the day closes. The daily candle closes in 20 hours. So we're going to monitor that. We have a fair value gap here that was tapped into and mitigated. Fair value gap tapped into and mitigated. Then we also have this other smaller fair value gap, which is very, very small. And then since we have the weekly so close to it, I'm going to focus on the weekly. This I'm going to ignore. And then for 4 hour, since we have those weeklies, I'm not really going to focus on the 4 hours. But we have a 4 hour fair value gap that's very close to our price action right over here. This one's at 2201 or 2201.5. Let's identify this one. I do see price action coming back to test this out. This is on the 4 hour. We're going to label it as such. 4 hour fair value gap 50% mark. I'm going to watch that. This will probably get tapped into in London session. We'll watch how this plays out. I'm going to set it around that. And then remember, guys, we're bullish until we're not. Remember, trend is your friend. Trade with the trend. Trend is your friend. So that's pretty much it when it comes to gold. Gold, we are still bullish. Bullish on weekly, daily, 4 hour. My points of interest, I have identified a couple points of interest. I also have a couple other points of interest on the charts, but we're not going to focus on those. We're going to focus on the points of interest that are closer to our price action at the moment. Price action right now is trading at 22.53 and some change. So we're going to be focusing on those higher time frame fair value gaps, aka my weekly fair value gap 50% marks. 2120 is one of them. And then also 2061 is another one of them. We have a 4 hour one that we identified as well that we can probably play out for a scalp, lower time frame, 5 and 15 minute entries. But be very careful with those. Take your profits quickly. We are extremely bullish, but remember, we are an extreme premium as well. So we could have price action retrace back into these levels, which in theory, it needs to retrace back anyways to tap into these levels and retest them. So be very careful with price action. We are still bullish. Now, guys, do you have any questions for me in regards to gold? And let me know if my voice is a little bit too raspy too. Remember, I'm trying to make sure I'm articulate, right, as possible. I'm trying to make sure like you guys can actually understand me. If we have no questions for gold, make sure to give me a thumbs up. We're going to move on to Euro USD. All right, we're looking good. Remember, guys, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. I'll slow down. We are moving on to Euro USD. Euro USD. All right. Price action. What does price action look like on the weekly? Boom. It looks like it's ranging. Price action is ranging. Where are you? Did I extend you so far out that I don't see you? That's what it is. Let me make you a little bit darker. Right now, price action is ranging. This is the weekly time frame. It's ranging and it's losing some momentum, right? So it's ping-ponging. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to catch entries on the lower time frames, such as the daily and the 4 hour, 1 hour. Weekly is ping-ponging, so let's see what's going on the lower time frame. Daily, what does the daily look like? Daily, you gave me a bearish fair value gap on the 14th of March, tapped into, mitigated. Then you also gave me another bearish fair value gap on the 22nd of March, tapped into that and was mitigated. We also have this bullish fair value gap that was created on the 20th of February. It tapped into that here on the 28th and the 29th of March. This is recent. This is this Friday. Tapped into that, and now it looks like price action is moving up. But we also have this bearish fair value gap that's right over here. Now, price action is making lower lows, lower highs on the daily. Trend line is going down. We're looking for bearish positions, right? Because it is bearish. You got this market structure shift confirmed right when it got down to here. So we have a market structure shift bearish. Then we also have another bearish fair value gap. Even though it tapped into this bullish fair value gap, we should be looking for bearish positions because we want to go with the trend. And we are ranging. So at the moment, we're just trying to get the most probable trades possible. We're going to remove this over here. This was a 4-hour and a daily fair value gap. This was tapped into and was mitigated. So right now, the only thing that we can really identify, right, since we already tapped into this and mitigated, is this bearish fair value gap over here. Now, I'm not too confident that this is going to hold it back since it's ranging really hard right now, but it could, right? Bearish momentum, bearish fair value gap, bearish market structure shift, right? Bearish change of character. So we're looking for bearish positions. It's just trading with the trend. Could it break through this fair value gap and continue up and then target the buy side liquidity? It could. But we're going to try to trade with the trend to be the most likely probability. And then this should seek out the sell side liquidity. And then seek this daily 4-hour 50%. So sell side liquidity. And then this daily and 4-hour is what it should be seeking. In theory, right? If not, if it breaks through here, closes above it, it's going to be targeting this buy side liquidity. And then we can look into here for going into short. But what I want to target is for price action to somehow give me a nice clear entry to target this over here. The daily 4-hour fair value gap as a bullish position. But we have to do bearish price action in order to get there. Now 4-hour, this is what I see here on the 4-hour. Have a couple of different fair value gaps here. This has been tapped to mitigated. This is still clear. This is still a possible entry. And we have this one over here too, right? So remember how I said like it's going to probably seek that buy side liquidity. This looks like it's a nice little confluence for it to wick into this area here. And then this will push it back down, rejection, and then continuation to the downside. So we're actually gonna label these two different fair value gaps here. The reason you see these gold lines here is because it's the golden pocket. So I have that in easy algo to automatically do it on every chart. But the fact that this golden pocket overlaps with this fair value gap gives you an additional confluence, and it also adds just that much more to the probability that this is going to play out. So we're going to identify both of these. This looks really good for a bearish fair value gap. And then this looks like it's the final one, right? Before it continues to the downside. So that one's going to be the one that really rejects. Let's lock these. Let's watch these and make sure to set your alerts for these. There's an alert on that. Alert on that. We're going to label them. For our fair value gap, 50%. Remember, this is ACAP. Your broker might be a little bit different, but if you're on ACAP, This one is at 1.09280. The other one is, which is the one that overlaps with the golden pocket, higher confluence, higher probability. This one is at 1.08778. Set your alerts for those two. And then the one that was really close to where price action is now, it's on a daily. I'm actually going to remove it because it tapped into it on the 4 hour. We're just going to leave these two open here. Those are the ones that I'm looking for, closest to our price action, and the ones more likely to actually have some price action reject off it. So this one with the overlap of the golden pocket, and then this one, which is the fair value gap with the buy side liquidity on the 4 hour and also the daily, just in case it gets rejected off it. This area here, the fair value gap itself, it's going to be a nice little confluence to it and help reject that. Now, does anybody have any questions for me when it comes to Euro USD? Remember, right now we are ranging the weekly, so we're going to have opportunities to short it, opportunities to long it, but right now it's just bouncing, it's ping-ponging, top and bottom, top and bottom. Hopefully this gives you guys some clear indication of like where to trade inside the Euro USD, why it does range, which is pretty cool. Sometimes when it ranges and you can catch it and play it out safely, you can catch it when it goes up, when it goes down, when it goes up, when it goes down, and make money just ping-ponging through the range. Let me get some thumbs up if you guys are good to go with Euro USD. And then we'll move on to the next pair. Next pair I'm going to do is Aussie. I got to do the Aussie dollar because that one looks really good too. No questions for me so far, guys. You good? Awesome. Aussie USD. So Aussie USD, what are we looking at? What do you guys see? We're on the weekly, looking at the market, at the structures of the price action. How do your highs look? How do your lows look? Right? Downtrend. We're on a downtrend right now. Looks like we might be getting stuck in a range here. Let's identify that. We might be getting stuck in a range. Let's color this P yellow. Just so we can see a little bit better. Right? Ooh, price action looks good. All right, cool, guys. So we identified this area here. This happened on the 15th of January. It was tapped into on the 4th of March, right? So this has been mitigated. But as you can see there, that's a 50% mark. Price action taps into it. If we are on the weekly, right? So the price action tapped into it on the daily, weekly fair value gap, wicked into it, and then rejected off it. So I'm going to remove that because it's been mitigated. I have this daily fair value gap down here and another daily fair value gap over here. We're going to go into it on a lower time frame in a moment so we can see a little bit better. And then also in the meantime, I still have this active over here. This fair value gap that's on the daily and the weekly that overlaps. We're looking at the coordinates 0.67578. Still has not tapped into and mitigated. That is a beautiful point of interest with nice confluences on the higher time frame. Make sure you set your alerts on that. Make sure we're looking for a bearish position when the price action comes into this area here. Do I see anything else in the weekly? I do not. Nothing close to the price action. So we're going to move down to the daily so we can see a little bit better. Daily, if we're looking left and we're going right, you're going to see this little daily fair value gap above this where the weekly was. We're going to see here fair value gap, 50% mark. It's pretty much been tapped into to the pip over here. That's been mitigated. This fair value gap here that's bearish, mitigated as well. Tapped into multiple times. It was a really nice rejection off it too. But it was tapped into multiple times. Do we see anything else? Not really. I have a daily fair value gap here. That's bullish. Right? I entered here with a limit order. Put my stop loss below the previous candle. Remember, whenever you have a fair value gap, it's 3 different candles. First, second, third. Second candle is always going to be your fair value gap. So whenever you're doing your stop loss, you're going to do a stop loss beneath the previous candle of the fair value gap, just to make sure that you're safe. Gives you a nice little additional buffer. But for right now, price action looks like it's going to play out in my favor. It's tapped into this bullish fair value gap here, and it should continue up into this area here, which is the daily and the weekly fair value gap. Collect liquidity up here, and then continuation downtrend with the weekly bias. But for now, I'm expecting price action to reject off this, continue up. Do I see anything else? Daily fair value gap. So this daily fair value gap here was tapped into and mitigated. So I'll remove that. And then that's pretty much it. The only daily fair value gap that's left over, it's this one here that's still playing out. So price is actually going back to my entry. And then this is what I'm looking for. I pretty much put it at the market structure here for my take profit 1. And then I put take profit, the full take profit at this daily weekly fair value gap. So just in case, I want to be a little bit aggressive when it comes to taking profit, just so I can lock that in. There's also another level right below this, 2 different levels that overlap on the higher time frame, daily and the 4-hour fair value gap. That's at 0.64362. That's right over here. So right underneath this, there's price action here. Fair value gap was left over. And it's a pretty good level too. As you can see here, previously it's been wicked out, and then candle structures form on top of it and sit on top of it. And then tons of wicks in this area here. So it looks like a really nice level. A very interesting level for price action as well. Here it missed it just barely. But I still feel like it has some liquidity left over, just in case it gets tapped into again for continuation to the upside. So even though here, some people might consider that as tapped into and mitigated, this area has a lot of liquidity in it. So I'm still going to be watching this level for price action to come back into here. It's going to be super important. Why? Because the price action comes back into here, taps into it, and then the candle closes below it. Then this is now bearish, and we're looking for bearish positions. Also because price action has been tested out here so many times. If you look at it right there, a lot of wicks and a lot of like fair value gaps. Price action, like the candle bodies themselves sit on top of it. It's pretty wild. I'm expecting to see like this convert into like an inverted fair value gap. Price action might just do fair value gap here, and then you'll have a fair value gap here, and then wherever that goes there, and then just bearish positions. What do we see on the 4-hour? We have this over here. Golden pocket overlaps with this 4-hour. I'll probably identify this one. I won't identify the others. This is going to be the highest confluence, the highest probability one for me when it comes to the 4-hour. Color you red, because we are bearish. I'm going to label you as well. For I got 50% mark. And let me just lock it. This one's going to be at 0.65843. We're going to set an alert on this one. And yeah, so right now I'm waiting for price action to play out. Honestly, I wanted to go all the way up here. It might not. So make sure to be aggressive with your take profit. Remember, we are ranging here as well. Aussie USD is ranging. But on the higher time frames on my weekly, I'm looking at bearish positions. So I'm more likely than not going to go into more bearish positions. Right now I'm in a risky long. Now I'm going to also adjust my take profit. Take profit 1's probably going to be here at this 4-hour fair value gap. Take profit 2 is going to be here at the top of this market structure. And then my full take profit is going to be over here at this daily/weekly fair value gap 50% mark. Now, does anybody have any questions for me in regards to Aussie USD? If not, give me a thumbs up in the Discord, and then we'll move on to the next pair. Next pair we're going to go over is USD JPY. All right, thumbs up. We're looking good. Guys, this is going to be my last pair for the evening. We're going over USD JPY. Oh, that's nasty. So this is the price action I was projecting to play out. I did this on Sunday. On this Sunday. I did this in January. Wow. When did I do this? I did this in February. I did that February 3rd. It's crazy. All right, so price action. What does the price action look like? Price action look like it wants to break through this buy side liquidity. We're looking at equal highs right now. Right? Boom, boom, boom. 3 different equal highs. Some people might call it a triple top. I'm just going to call it equal highs to make it as easy as possible. Equal highs 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. Remember, we're also looking for additional confluences. We're not just going to go off based on the fact that it's a triple top, right? It's a 3 head. We're not going off just that alone. We want to get additional confluences. Now, good thing that happened was weekly left us behind a weekly fair value gap. We're going to identify this one because this one's going to play out very, very important for us. So we're going to highlight that. Color it blue because we are bullish. Let's label this beast higher time frame, right? This beast right here is a weekly 50%, weekly fair value gap 50% mark. We want this to play out. We're going to label U2 with a nice beautiful alert. Alert set. You're looking at 150.123. That's what we're looking at for right now. This 4-hour daily fair value gap bearish. We're going to remove this. This one has been mitigated. And then for price action, for another weekly, we have this golden pocket here. That's this area here. I don't have any other confluences, so I'm not going to mark it. I do have a fair value gap here. So this is another weekly bullish position. This one's really good too. So set your alerts on this one. This one's at 143.137. Reason being is that there's 2 additional confluences to this. This one's sitting on top of an order block here. And it's also a fair value gap. It's at an extreme discount zone too. Meaning that if I draw my fibs, this is going to be at 0.79, between 0.705 and 0.79. These are called optimal trade entries, right? Starting at golden pocket, which is 6.2, or if you want to get really technical, 0.618, right? Golden pocket, quote unquote, starts off there with an extreme discount, right? Since we're at an extreme discount, this is a premium, it's above, this is discount. If this was reversed, right? If we were going from above to down, we were bearish. and we're looking for entries in a bearish position, that would be at an extreme premium, right? So price action moving bullish, we're looking for extreme discounts. Price action moving bearish, going down, we're looking for extreme premiums. So this would be here an extreme premium level because it falls in between the 0.62 and the 0.79 OTE, optimal trade entry. This OTE overlaps with this weekly fair value gap, which is the 50% mark of the weekly fair value gap, and it's sitting on top of an order block. You have three different very powerful confluences overlapping in this area here. So make sure to set your alerts on here. Make sure to look for bullish positions here, right? It's going to be a higher probability. It's never 100%, but the fact that these very important confluences overlap here on this weekly fair value gap, and also there's a daily fair value gap inside the order block. That's another one. That's four different confluences here in this area here. Make sure to set your alerts on that. It's a very, very important point of interest level there. Cool. So I'm going to clean up this chart here, remove that optimal trade entry. We identify this weekly fair value gap 50% mark. Very important. This weekly here, fair value gap, tapped into and mitigated. This price action was drawn out before the fact. We're going to remove it. Played out pretty good. Didn't go as low as expected. I wanted it to tap into here and then continuation to the upside. But price action was so bullish, it just continued, right? Created this fair value gap and continued in here. When I created that price action, this didn't really exist. So pretty cool to watch it play out like that. Let's go down into the daily. Daily and the weekly overlap, so I'm not going to add an additional one. I will add into here weekly, daily, weekly. They overlap, right? They overlap daily and weekly, so it gives us that additional confluence. This fair value gap here in the daily, I will mark out because it overlaps with our golden pocket, and that could be a very important key level for us too. It could wick into it, reject off it completely, and then continuation to the upside. So I want to make sure I highlight that. Pretty much because it overlaps in the golden pocket. So that gives me that nice little confluence. So this is daily fair value gap 50% mark. I'm going to lock that in. What else do we see? Fair value gap, tap, mitigated, tiny fair value gap. Don't want to identify it. Tapped and mitigated. Tapped and mitigated, and then weekly fair value gap over here with a daily fair value gap sitting on top of a weekly order block inside the weekly optimal trade entry. So closest fair value gaps within our price action, closest to our price action, are going to be the following. This daily and weekly that overlaps at 150.156. We also have this daily inside the golden pocket that you can use for intraday trading at the 148.594. Then you have this weekly one, which is juicy. It's great. 143.137, sitting on top of an order block, daily fair value gap, and inside the optimal trade entry zone. Now, do you guys have any questions for me in regards to Euro, not Euro, but USD JPY, US dollar, Japanese yen? Do you guys have any questions for me? As this will be the last pair for the evening. I got Mind Power with the thumbs up. Can I get thumbs up from the rest of you? Abby, thank you for joining us. You are a bit late though. We did start at 8:15 p.m. tonight, but you can definitely catch this on YouTube. I'm going to upload this to YouTube as soon as we finish here. I'm going to edit it, throw it on YouTube, and then it's going to go live inside the live recordings channel. Live recordings channel is going to be copy and pasted right here. Here is the link inside the Discord chat. There's your live recordings there. Click that. Make sure to turn on your notifications. As soon as I have it uploaded on YouTube, it's going to be posted on here for you, okay? And yes, Mazi, UJ does look juicy. Looks pretty nice though. Price action is really clean too when you look at it. We have a couple red folder news that's going to affect it throughout this week. So price action, it looks pretty damn good. We might see it, just tap into that, continuation to the upside, tap it to break into it and go into the weekly, come right back up. We'll see. We'll see how price action plays out for the week. We got Abby typing right now in the Discord. Do you guys have any other questions for me? Any questions in regards to trading? Why I do what I do? Why we trade in points of interest? For strategies, remember strategies, we have different user strategies here in the Discord. We have more than just one strategy. They're all profitable. Pick whichever one works best for you. Pick whichever one makes sense to you. Because at the end of the day, the strategies don't really matter. Risk management's really what really matters. Make sure you don't over leverage. Make sure you don't risk more than 1 to 2% per trade. You know, just the simple things. Don't get greedy. See, Abby's still typing. Perfect. No worries. So yeah. So as soon as it goes live, I'm posting in the live recording so you can watch it. We did go over a couple cool pairs, good pairs. We went over NAS, gold, euro, Aussie USD, and then USD JPY. My favorite personal pair right now is going to be NASDAQ. I really do like NAS a lot. And I started trading futures now too. So I'm looking forward to, be trading that on the 1 minute, 3 minute time frame. That's going to be really fun. I go live with that tomorrow. So wish me luck. Guys, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's been a pleasure. As always, same time, same place. Next Sunday, we're going to go live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is New York session time. Guys, if you have any questions throughout the week, please feel free to write them down. We'll go over it together at the live. But for the meantime, I do see you guys know what's going on. You guys are very attentive. Thank you for joining me, guys. Same time, same place next week. Have a great and profitable trading week